Another week and another trip down to the long, slow descent into madness that is Game of Thrones. Man, this has turned into a crap show. So how did we get here, and more importantly, why are we here? Because we all know that, man, Cersei would have laid waste to every last person last episode if it were the real Cersei, not just some boring imposter. I mean, come on, she had every last one of them in range. There is zero chance that Tyrion gets out there without looking like a pincushion from all the arrows, and we've already seen how far those scorpions can shoot. How in the world is that dragon not dead? This episode's been particularly divisive, so to try and figure out where it went wrong, let's go to the play-by-play and see exactly. We open up with Varys writing a note telling about Jon's true identity to all the lords of Westeros. Varys promptly goes out and meets Jon on the docks of King's Landing and reminds him that he would be a much, much better king and tells him that we know how his coin has landed. Yeah, sure. After Varys' meeting with Jon, Tyrion decides that he's going to go ahead and rat out Varys, the man who saved him from his impending death and brought him across the seas to meet with Daenerys. Seems legit. Daenerys tells him that she knows that she's been betrayed and assumes it was Jon. Tyrion tells her no, of course it was Varys. But Dany just replies that, well, Jon told somebody and that's how she knew it was going to be him. Man, does Daenerys look haggardly in this. Can't have been that long since she stopped eating. After a time of confrontation, it's time for a good old barbecue, and man, Varys does not look happy. But hey, at least he's going to go out like a boss. By the way, Jon and Tyrion do not seem to shed a tear for a good old friend who's helped them out. Well, it's time to head on over to the camp right out in front of the King's Landing. And how close are they to the walls? How are they not dead? Tyrion goes to find his brother who's been captured because, well, he's the dumbest Lannister. Yeah, right. And look, they're just going to let him right on in because he pulls rank. Don't get me wrong, this is actually one of my favorite scenes because the acting is just brilliant from both Nikolai and Peter. Man, just fantastic. I really feel the emotion between the two. This is actually a great callback to when Tyrion is saved by Jaime. The Hound and Arya approach the Stark camp and tell them, hey, we want to go kill the Queen, and the guards are pretty much like, yeah, sure, why the hell not? We come back for the Siege of King's Landing, where everybody is getting ready. Euron's got his aimbot locked and loaded, and the Tower Guard are all set and ready to go. That's a lot of scorpions, could spell trouble for the dragons. Hey look, it's Hound and Arya, just marching through King's Landing like nobody's business. Nope, we are totally inconspicuous. Ah, finally, our chance to see the Golden Company in action. And look, there's homeless Harry Strickland. We've all been waiting to see what he can do, right? All-out panic is setting up inside the city while our heroes just wait for their standoff. Cersei looks down upon the city as Euron looks up into the sky and wonders, what exactly is that? Nice, it's the dragons. Good thing I preloaded that. Hold up. Aimbot.exe seems to have stopped working. Let me check on something real quick. What? Kicked and banned? Oh, come on now. With the cheats turned off, it is roast 30. R.I.P. Iron Fleet. With all the cheats turned off, the scorpions seem a lot less devastating. It's almost like they took the new Nerf bat to them. Hey, I guess if Blizzard can have fun with nerfing things, so can everybody else. Ah, the Golden Company's time has finally come. And hey, does anybody else hear that? The walls are breached with dragon fire, and the laws of physics just completely surrender. Hey, does anybody else remember how you used to be able to use hot rocks at your camp? No, Harry, run! Run, Harry, run! With the walls breached, utter panic starts to set in, and all the Dothraki and Unsullied pour through. Wait a minute, why are there still Dothraki and Unsullied after the Battle of Winterfell? Daenerys starts to go to town without any scorpions to hamper her way, not like they did anything anyways, and it looks like Cersei's actually starting to have a breakdown. For the first time, she's realizing she might actually lose this round, and that is just priceless. When Jaime rings the bells and the Lannisters surrender, and this is a great moment for our heroes. They finally won. They took King's Landing. Wait, what's that? Daenerys doesn't seem particularly happy at this situation. I hope nothing bad can come from this. And there we have it, folks, the breaking point of the entire episode. Daenerys just decides to start roasting everybody. And wait a second. Are those two guys just hanging out? These guys are the actual incarnation of the "this is fine" meme. They're just hanging out there. It's obvious they missed their cues, but come on, man. After this, it's pretty much just wanton destruction throughout most of the rest of the episode, but we do get one great part where we actually get to see Clegane Bowl. You guys remember Clegane Bowl, right? That's where we get to see Sandor beat up on the mountain, except, well, Sandor's had an arc where he's not really so much on vengeance anymore, and then the mountain's not really the mountain anymore. He's mostly just a zombie. So, I guess it's kind of a toss-up between pacifism and The Walking Dead. Mercifully, it all comes crashing to an end with Sandor rushing the mountain and pushing him right out of the window, just like we always wanted to see, right? We do get to see one final confrontation between Euron and Jaime, which has been a big plot point since the last 14 minutes, so I guess that's a long-standing thing, right? Now, one of my big gripes between the last couple seasons is the fact that, well, that's not really Euron. Euron in the books is much more of a dark and somber person. Euron Crow's Eye cuts out the tongues of his shipmates, and his ship, the Silence, is a dreaded thing to see. Well, I guess a confrontation between Nikki Sixx and Jaime is just as good as any other, so it finally comes to a close with Jaime getting stabbed repeatedly by Euron, and Jaime gets one good blow in with Euron, and man, armor still doesn't seem to do anything in this show. We close it all out with Euron monologuing to the audience like he's Deadpool. Yay. Now, in a rather uncharacteristic move, Grey Worm completely loses it and decides he's going to stab some people, and, well, I guess all the Northmen just decide to follow and attack defenseless foes. Yeah, makes perfect sense, right? Jaime and Cersei have a touching reunion, although given the fact that she did just try to have Bronn kill him and Tyrion, it does lose a little bit of its luster, but it is a fantastic moment, and Lena does give it her all. We get to actually watch the walls come crumbling down on her and everything that she's built. And Jaime isn't quite going to kill her, but he does die with her, and it is kind of a nice end to see the twins who came into this world together go out with each other. Although it does kind of negate what Jaime just went through and kind of finding himself and running back to the woman, but yeah, he did love her. I will fully admit to not being the biggest Arya fan, but the moments with her and the Hound at the end there were quite touching, even if a little bit out of character for her. Now, running through the streets of King's Landing, she seems to have forgot all the parkour skills she picked up in Braavos, and doesn't seem to be able to move around people the way she normally would, or even stealthily, for that matter. Now, the show has gone out of its way to show her as a stone-cold badass, so her regression back to a childlike character who needs help from a mother and daughter and random people throughout the streets is a little strange, but the fact that her plot armor is in full effect here and she can survive dragon fire, falling buildings, and there are literally bodies strewn about right around her. But hey, at the end here, at least we do get the crossover event of the century, Arya and Artax, finally together at last. Yes, the symbolism is not completely lost on me. Arya has become death riding a pale horse. Yeah. I guess the last thing to cover is what got everybody's panties in a bunch. Daenerys Targaryen, mother of dragons, breaker of chains, the Misa. Now, Daenerys has never been opposed to corporal punishment. Heck, we've even seen it earlier in this episode. But burning random innocent civilians seems a little out of character for her, considering how often she's actually gone out of her way not to harm the civilians, be it Meereen or anywhere else that she's been. She's worked actively to free slaves. She even made sure that her Khalasar had to stop raping people and actually sit down and marry them. Jeez, this really seems out of character, and it's very understandable why everybody seems to be so upset by it. Now, some people say that, yeah, there have been hints leading up to it that she saw the burnt Iron Throne, but it wasn't burnt. Once again, it was snow. It's been confirmed. Even in the books, they make very, very, very clear that it's supposed to be snow she sees on the Iron Throne. It goes with the prophecy. I know we've thrown Azor Ahai out the window, but it was never meant to be ash or anything else. It was simply meant to be snow on the Iron Throne, and that's what she sees. Some people are going to reference the scene at the Gates of Qarth where she told them that she would burn entire cities and burn armies to the ground, but that's more blustering and trying to convince them to let her into the gates. You see, when a dragon actually killed a small child, Daenerys chained up her dragons. So really that's the biggest point, is this entire scene seems completely out of character. She goes row by row like she was mowing a lawn and just leaves nothing but ash. It would be much more understandable if she just burnt the Red Keep with Cersei and everybody in it. Yeah, we would kind of look at it and go, it's a little sketchy, but it wouldn't be so problematic for the show itself. Now, one of the biggest things is I think Emilia herself has come out and said that after reading the final script, she wound up wandering around the streets of London for like 5 hours, because even for her, this seemed really out of character and something that she just didn't understand, leaving her in a similar position as everybody else who's watched this show. I think that's what it comes down to. This final season has been one that's been broken not only lore-wise, but for a lot of the characters. We haven't seen them really act in ways that we would expect the characters in the show to act. You see, we seem to have come to a point where characters are acting out of place. Tyrion seems to have lost his wits, Cersei seems to be much less ruthless, while Dany seems to be infinitely more ruthless than she used to be. Jon seems to wander around aimlessly, and to be fair, without the prophecy, he doesn't really seem to have a place in the show anymore. Characters seem to have regressed the way they used to be, especially damaging for characters like Jaime and Arya and the Hounds, and it just feels out of place for a lot of people, be it Sam's breakdown or just anything that we've come to so far. Some of us got there a little bit before others, but this seems to be the one that's finally broken the fan base. And that seems to be the point that we've come to. It looks like there's even a petition going around right now to have HBO redo season 8. It's pretty fan breaking for everybody. I guess that's just where we're going to be. Well, if you have any comments, please leave them in the comments section. Like, share, and subscribe, and the usual. Thank you all so much.